So anyway, so as we speak, guys, the history of Gervonta Davis, Junto Nakatani, Naoya Inoue, and mostly Alexander Usyk have been creating a lot of buzz in the boxing world. These guys have been putting out a lot of buzzes out there, and there has been a lot of interesting competition from top to bottom. Now, Gervonta Davis, we're still thinking that they're going to have this Lamont Roach fight on March the 1st in Brooklyn Barclays Center, but someone said the fight was canceled like a few weeks ago. We don't know. We don't know. Inoue is still trying to go forward after the fight against Yi Jun Kim, and yet again, we don't know what's going to happen there. Junto Nakatani also still has a good fight in February the 24th against David Suar Contreras for his WBC World Bantamweight, which will be his bigger fight of the entire day of his career because that guy is a Mexican fighter, and it might put in a hard fight for Junto Nakatani because Junto Nakatani hasn't been making a lot of great fights right now. He needs to get better competition if he wants to prove himself. And Naoya Inoue has been proving himself, even though there's a lot of fighters that are ducking him no matter what. So at this moment, after his Luis Nuri fight was a pretty interesting fight last year, which was a good fight for Inoue. And even though TJ Doheny last September, it was just an interesting fight because I was looking at a guy that had an undefeated record in Japan, a guy that won 4 straight fights from 2018 to win one fight for the IBF World Super Bantamweight against another Japanese fighter he won. And Doheny went back to Japan in 2023, fighting 3 straight fights, one in June, one in October, and one in May, and had some great knockout highlights in that fight from his Asia Pacific title in the Super Bantamweight. So it had some fans thinking that Inoue should teach him a lesson because TJ Doheny has been in a great environment in Japan, being undefeated 4-0. So I understood how that fight brought up, and don't get me wrong, I was a little bit entertained by what Inoue was doing. But after Sam Goodman had to throw away everything that he had to do, it just really pushes you to a limit of so much problem because it just makes me feel there's problems and problems and problems, but you look at it and you look at it farther, it does bring you some interesting insights on what we're looking at while the future is moving on. So I think when the more older Inoue gets, I think some of these younger fighters will find that courage to take him out. And even though Inoue does have a good amount of several good years into him, because at this moment, 13 years of fighting, and I would say he might have another good 4 more years left. So it's going to bring in some interesting moments. I think by the end of this decade of the 2020s, he might, I can almost say hang up the gloves, but yet again, I will say though, Inoue has stated that he's not going to move up to weight class depending on how good his body weight is or depending on what the division is going to give him, because at this moment, there's nothing interesting. Like John Rio Casamero is number 2, but that guy's in his mid 30s, just like Luis Nuri. I mean, TJ Doheny, and at this moment, there is some interesting stuff. But after Sam Goodman pulling out the fight twice is just not good. So I really don't know what to say about this. Like, I'm not blaming Inoue for the competition of his last 2 fights weren't good, but yet again, for what we're looking at, I really can't say much about it for what it is. Like, it is what it is, but who knows? Like who really knows what's going to happen when we see what happens?